What I love to do is introduce the right people to the right people.
I assemble the smartest people I can think of or reach out to carry that conversation, and that's exactly what I've done today.
Please give my panel a round of applause. Welcome.
Okay, guys, welcome back. Jay Martin here, CEO of Cambridge House, and I'm joined once again by Alex Tsukernik, CEO of Nova Royalty. Alex, really good to see you again.
Likewise, Jay. Good to be here.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming back, because we've had you on the show 5 or 6 times since you listed Nova, because you've done that many transactions. Every time you had a big piece of news, I wanted to get in front of my audience. And, we have something similar to talk about today, which is real exciting. So, I think most people who watch my program are familiar with the Nova story. Before we jump into it, for anyone who's just tuning in for the first time, give us just the elevator pitch, Alex, and then I want to dive into some details.
Look, absolutely. So, look, we started the company 3 years ago on a very simple premise. We saw the entire energy supply chain changing. You're leaving the world of fossil fuels, oil and coal. You're entering the world of electrification. When you look at the supply chain there, it's very much a copper story and some nickel on the electric vehicle side. And so for the first time, there was really a need to create a royalty company that's focused on these commodities. And so as a first mover, we literally mapped out the whole world. We looked at primarily third-party royalties. So these are existing royalties on assets, and they're usually only created at the point of sale at an early stage of the asset, when the original discoverer or owner sells it to a much larger company that's going to be developing it. And really, that's really the only way to get exposure to top-notch assets, because good companies that run big base metals mines, they just don't sell royalties on the assets by themselves. They don't need the capital. They don't like putting them on. So what we did was just, we had a team that was set up from the very beginning all around the world. We mapped out every country, every mining region, every asset. And we reached out to all the royalty holders associated with these assets and really just began building these relationships step by step. So we spent 2 years being private. We went public last October on a TSXV. And since then, it's been very active. We've done 7 transactions now in 11 months, and they've all been very much on target on our strategy. And it's really, I think it's really growing into an exciting company. So it's great to be back here.
Yeah. 7 transactions in 11 months. And, the companies you're doing deals with just need to be called out, because we're talking about Teck, Newmont, Glencore, Rio Tinto, Antofagasta. I know I'm forgetting some. Did I say Newmont? These are the biggest mining companies in the world. So when you say there's no fluff in the story, it's pure substance. Because you listed in October, I believe, right?
October 1st, 2020.
October 1st. Came out the gate, I think priced at $1. Inside of 4 months, the stock had returned 600% to shareholders. But I want to call out, that wasn't on the back and, on the end, but there was no promotion. That's what really struck me about this. It was on the back of transactions. And you came on the show, it was like once per month with some new transaction you guys have put together, and the share price reflected that. Since then, there's been some profit taking, which I think you should be really happy about, because it just says you made a bunch of people a ton of money. And the real juice with this story is that these transactions you've put together, they're not set to mature until really the end of the decade, right? That's when the cash really starts to roll in. This is a long-term story we're looking at. But one thing you told me the last time we spoke is that, yes, we're looking at these deals maturing towards the end of the 2020s. That's when they start to cash flow. But in the interim, we're going to be looking for some bridge cash flow transactions, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So your 7th transaction, Alex, let's jump into it. What did you guys do?
Yeah, so just Jay, before we launch into that, when you look at our sector and you look at the most exciting assets in our sector, there's really nothing like a big copper mine. Yeah, because when you these things can go for 70, 100 plus years, and there's really no other parallel that we see in our industry. So, when you look at what we bought so far, it's true they matured in the late 2020s, and but just to be clear, that's literally the most advanced leg of the entire copper project pipeline. And it just takes that long to get into production for a top-notch project, Taca Taca, for example, which is not being moved forward by First Quantum. So it's literally just the latest that you can buy them realistically is right before they really hit that last leg before production, and you have the opportunity once, because these are such valuable mines when you combine these projects at a development stage where they're clearly moving ahead, and especially diversified within the company, which is what we've done, it's really, I think, a compelling situation for our shareholders. That being said, we also didn't want to be non-cash generated for so long. I think our shareholders have given us the benefit of the doubt that we're doing the right things, which is great and greatly appreciated. But this is a business and it's supposed to generate cash. I think that's the fundamental premise. And so after we kind of picked off some of the early opportunities that were really something we had to do that were more on the development side, we also were developing and are pursuing further, obviously, assets that are cash flowing and near-term cash flowing, because what we want Nova to be is really just the easiest proxy for the whole copper sector. So you can say you have cash flow today, you have cash flow in the near term, you have cash flow in the future, and obviously once our big mines get into production, they're going to be expanding mine plans and productions, and so it will go for generations, which is great. But you want to have it today, you want to have it tomorrow, and so we've come up with an acquisition which we're super excited about, which we just announced yesterday, and the associated financing on the Aranzazu copper mine in Mexico. And really, it's a 1% royalty right now. If you look at the production, the Aranzazu is doing about $1.5 to $2 million a year in annual revenue, which will cover off easily our G&A. So basically, whatever it costs us to run the company will be also covered off by the royalty, which is great. But when you look at the asset, I mean, that's what really excites us, because look, we didn't just want to buy cash flow to buy cash flow. That's not how we think. If we buy something, we want to take an asset and put it in the portfolio for a long, long time. That's what's exciting.
Yeah.
Our business, mining is a business basically of losing money, but there are mines that are making a lot of money, and they're really that top tier, and that's exactly what we want in the company. And so when you look at the ownership of Aranzazu, it's owned by Ora Minerals, which is controlled by the Brito family in Brazil. These are the founders of Yamana Gold, which I'm sure everyone knows. And they've just done an absolutely unbelievable job with this mine. It wasn't an easy asset before. They took it over. They put in their own management team. They restarted the mine in 2018. And when you look at the metrics, and we actually have that presentation on our website, anybody can take a look. It's just incredible improvements in every aspect, whether it's production, whether it's cost, whether it's recoveries. Everything is just humming. They're doing additional exploration drilling. They're looking at doubling production again. So they're paying a big dividend. They just paid a $60 million dividend back in April. And this is really kind of the flagship asset of the company. Excuse me. And so when you have a chance to buy something like that, we're paying $9 million, which we think is a very attractive price, given the asset, given the current cash flow and the potential for expansion and the overall asset quality. I mean, look, we just couldn't be more excited. So, and we've been working on this transaction for over a year. This is really through our relationships throughout the world, in this case in Mexico, and really just about building that trust with people, understanding that you're a serious counterparty, and you'll do business fairly and you'll treat people well. I think that's one of the things you're most proud of, is that every counterparty we've done business with, we really had good relationships with. And you want to treat people well, you want them to feel good about doing business with you, and hopefully that comes through. So we're really excited to get this deal done. It sets the company up to really begin building that bridge of cash flows into the future, and adds another great asset to the company. So I couldn't be happier.
I love that. Yeah, and so just pulling on some threads there, roughly 1.52 mil, that covers Nova's G&A as it stands right now. So the project's in Zacatecas in Mexico. You touched on the operator, and you also mentioned that looking at doubling production. So just give us some context there. Talk to me about what that means in terms of mine life and future production numbers, Alex.
Yeah, so I mean, when you look at the asset, it's really interesting. It's been 3 years since they started the mine. They've actually increased reserves and resources in that time frame, despite producing. And so they've already scaled production by 30% in terms of throughput, which actually occurred just earlier this year. And now they're doing an additional 49,000 meters of exploration drilling with the objective of doubling production as well. So I think what you'll probably see, if and when that occurs, is that you'll probably see an increase in reserves and resources all the way through. So if you look at the current PM&I, it's about a 10-year mine life, plus you've got another 3 years of inferred at the current throughput rate. They've done a great job of converting inferred into M&I and M&I into P&P. So I really, again, this is a mining town which has seen mining for 500 years. And this mine, I think, has been in production since 1962. So this is a mining region. There's a long way here to go, but I also, it's not, I wouldn't say this is an easy asset per se. I think it's a phenomenal job has been done by the management team. And so when you look at the history of Aranzazu, it had its struggles before, and it took us a while to get comfortable actually with everything going on here. But when you look at what Aura has done, it's just been super consistent improvements, and they've hit it from every step. And so we grew comfortable enough to make the investment.
Okay. And this is the 20th royalty in Nova's portfolio now. Is that correct?
Correct. This would be number 20. Yes.
This would be number 20. Okay. And I'm just going to make the assumption, I guess, given your track record, you're still looking for more. What do you call it? Like a bridge cash flow transaction? I liked how you put that, because a lot of what you've acquired has been, future production, but Aranzazu is different. So you're hunting for more, I imagine, right now.
Listen, as I said before, like when I went out on the show, the way we think about the world is the entire world of copper and nickel is basically what we do. And so, we're always looking at the entire universe to see where the opportunities are that we can execute on. So, you always have a lot of discussions going on at the same time on things that are of relevance to you. And in this case, the window opened and we got the deal done. So that's great. There's other thing, obviously a whole number of other things we're pursuing where we're hoping the same occurs. And, you just do that. Where we always wanted to bring a little bit more balance to the portfolio. It's just the opportunities in the beginning that we're executing on, they were so compelling. There's absolutely just no conversation about not doing them. And then if you also look at the dilution angle, right? So we're buying this royalty. We're diluting the company by roughly, let's say 3% to buy a cash flowing royalty of this stature. If we had done that 12 months ago, it would be much, much, much more expensive. Just given the size of the company. And Nova, when we went public, I think it was based on the last financing in February 2020, we were a 20 million Canadian company market cap.
Yeah.
If you assume we came out $1, then I guess 40 million. Now this is a $300 million company. So, for us to make an acquisition of this nature, it's something that it's a much better deal for our shareholders. I think, and so now we look forward to doing much more of things of this nature, like cash flowing, near-term cash flowing, and hopefully at some point in the reasonable future, the market investors can look at the company and say, you know what, this covers every question that I had. You have great assets, you have near-term cash flows, you have medium-term cash flows, you have long-term cash flows. Your asset quality is high. The management teams and the companies that are taking care of the assets are very strong. You haven't deployed capital into something that's really questionable. And so hopefully with every deal that we do, we can just earn that trust of the investment community, which is the most precious thing that you have. So look, one step at a time, but we're feeling pretty good about it today.
Okay. And right now you have a live financing, or you've just wrapped up a financing. So how much cash are you putting in the treasury?
So we just put out a press release on that. We have $12.7 million that's the offering, and then there's an additional underwriter shoe as well. So it can be upsized from there. And so look, it does the job for now. Put some cash in the till. It allows us to finance the acquisition, and we keep looking for more. So okay. It's just one of the steps. But it was nice to see. I think, just speaking very personally, what you really notice the most is just the response of people in the industry you respect on the things that you do. That's what I pay the most attention to. And it was really nice when we finally went public with the deal and people saw the details, that they were really complimentary of how everything was done and structured. And so those are the things you remember, and hopefully we're earning that respect from the investment community and the industry as we go. Yeah,
I think that's safe to say when you look at your shareholder base, individuals like Adrian Day and Frank Holmes, among many, many others. And okay, so, someone who's maybe just tuning in or whatever, having a look at the chart, whenever you have a company come out the gate so hot, right? And as we spoke to early in the conversation, I love how this makes you laugh. You delivered 600% to shareholders inside of 4 months, after which I expect, having been in the industry, there's going to be some profit taking, and that's healthy. And that's the reward that early investors got for betting on you, right? But some retail investors look at that and they say, what's going on? Why is the share price falling? They've run out of steam, right? They were over promoted, all of this stuff. And so I want to give you the opportunity to speak to that, Alex.
Listen, it's interesting when you're in this seat, because all you can do every day is just stay focused and pursue and execute on the idea that convinced you to do all this. And so you go public and you see the share price run, and it's flattering in many ways. At the same time, that's what investors used to do. I think what they saw was that we were doing good things, and it was a new concept, and I think the project quality was very high. So I think people got really excited. I think we got to like 625 by early January. I think sometime when we announced the second Taca Taca deal. So that was great. But at the same time, as your sort of conscious part understands, that these things can get volatile sometimes. And so when I go from January, I guess 625. Right now we're in August. I think the financing is at 330, so more or less 50% down. The company has almost doubled the number of its material assets in terms of kind of things that we really notice. So we've added 3 major acquisitions since then. We've done with Cachitas, West Wall, and Aranzazu, and now we're going to be cash flowing. And I think we're much more advanced and solid in our overall sort of process and journey now with 330 than we were at 625. And so I think that's all you can do. And look, we see obviously a tremendous amount of value and upside. And it's nice to get investors who share that in the financing. And it's unfortunate if somebody bought in kind of during that run and they think that we lost some money. I think the only thing I would encourage them to do is hopefully they appreciate the vision that we have for this and they'll hang on, because I do think that over time here, as we do more, as the assets perform and mature, I do think that there's a tremendous amount of value here that has not been recognized yet.
Yeah, no, I think that's on the money. And one thing that struck me probably during our first conversation or second, or anyways, when we first started to get to know each other, often when I have a CEO on, one of my final questions is, what can investors expect from you in the next 12 months? What are going to be the trigger points? And you answered the question, but only after you had prefaced it with, look, we're not thinking in 12-month time horizons, right? This is a decade-long story, and you need to think about it that way. And I appreciated the context. And then obviously you got into your plans, and I think you over-delivered on what we expected within that short time period. But the maturation of Nova is a longer tail than that, and you made that apparent from the jump. So I've always appreciated that.
Yeah, look, you don't want to jump over where you are today, because every deal is so difficult to do. It's just it's like a fascinating experiment to watch if you're paying attention. And so I think we have a lot of confidence in our team and our process. In terms of just what we do, and I think people's willingness to deal with us. So we really are excited about the business here. But again, guidance is one of those things that's tough. It's been a great deal run, and we're super excited. But I still remember, when we after February, I think we had done 5 deals in 5 months, and then it took us 4 months to do the next one, which was West Wall, and people thought we had kind of disappeared somewhere. Yeah. It's one of those things where hopefully people have realistic expectations about what's possible. We are very excited about the opportunities ahead, but I think you should also be realistic. There will be periods sometime in the future where you're going to sit on the sidelines for a good amount of time because you don't have quite the same opportunity that you expect to deploy your capital on, and then that'll be followed by very rapid deal making because the windows open up and you're going ahead. I think you just need to have a lot of faith and be centered in your process so you understand why you're doing this. And I think if there's anything that we've learned kind of as a company is just hopefully to get better at that part, and just staying focused on what we're trying to do, and hopefully people see the results. Yeah, I love that. Okay, now last question. I know right now you're in Denver attending an oil and gas conference. And exactly right. Yes. With this transaction, with your financing, I don't know how much time you've actually had to be at the conference, but just talking not much. Okay. So, can you share anything on the response that you're getting as a copper nickel royalty company talking to a bunch of oil and gas investors? What's the response like? Curiosity. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. I think curiosity, and a very friendly, piqued curiosity. Because I think that people, we signed up for the conference precisely because we felt like energy investors in the United States will be curious about what we're doing, the new energy supply chain and the like. And because it's a royalty model that people here understand, we thought it would be a good good thing to do, and attend the conference. So I think if I can say one thing, I think people are definitely curious. It's still extremely early, I think, in the whole cycle and development and the like, but you got to start somewhere. So we're glad that we came here and we got a chance to meet some people and just get a sense for how it's perceived. And then we'll just keep on cracking away at hopefully penetrating more investors, because I think this energy transition theme is just obviously going to keep on growing.
Love that. Okay. And you're going to be in Vancouver in January at my conference.
Absolutely. Assuming I can travel.
Yeah.
Assuming we can travel, I'll be there. No question.
Love that. Love that. Okay. Well, I look forward to hosting you. In the meantime, it was great catching up, getting you back in front of my audience, getting them the update. Congratulations on the first cash flowing asset, Alex.
Thank you very much, Jay. Really appreciate it. Look, I think everyone here is pretty excited, and look, we'll just keep doing what we're doing, and hopefully we'll be back here to tell you more.
As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit subscribe. I'd love to have you on the team. And if you want to take the next step and go a bit deeper with my content, I publish a free weekly newsletter every Friday where I debrief my portfolio. I distill the top lessons I've uncovered from the guests I've had on this show every week. And I talk about sectors and industries that I think are poised to move, areas I'm looking for opportunity, and places that I'm allocating capital. I love writing it. We publish every Friday. The link is right beneath this video. Love to have you join the tribe.